what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Games Industry Executive Summary. This is Casey, and before we start, I usually say this at the end of the show, but of course, anything you can do to support us, please hit that subscribe thing, the bell thing, the liking thing, whatever it is that you need to hit, please do that. We would really appreciate it. And then, of course, next week on April 8th, Tuesday, we would love for you to join us for an exclusive breakdown of Newzoo's The State of PC and Console Gaming in 2025. The numbers will surprise you. So with that being said, I would like to welcome my friends here, the dashing Dave Thier, and of course, the analyst Manu Rosier. It's going to be a fun week, or it has been a news-filled week, especially from 2 days ago, where Nintendo showed us more of the Nintendo Switch 2. So, gentlemen, welcome on board.
Thank you. Has everyone noticed my piranha plant?
Oh.
I'm really
I'm
really excited about this.
You're representing Nintendo today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here to make sure people know about it.
And then Manu is representing Alien today as well. So
definitely.
Yeah,
Nintendo and Alien, the two major brands that we need to be thinking about today.
They go hand in hand, like a glove,
or a tiny mouth inside of a bigger mouth.
Yes, which is almost close to what you have in the background.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, gentlemen, should we just jump into it?
Let's do it.
I mean, Nintendo had the what is it called again? The show they have, the Nintendo Direct. Direct. I'll play some videos in the background, and we'll talk about things as they come. And then, like, obviously, if there's anything I'm missing or you want me to talk about and show, let's do that. The first one, or I'll just run through it. But I would love to hear your thoughts about what's happening with Nintendo, the console. Is there anything that impressed you, surprised you?
I think it looks cool. I'm going to buy one, but I'm not sure how relevant that is to the global conversation because I'll buy all kinds of things. But I think it's going to work for Nintendo enthusiasts. But what I worry is that the Switch has basically become like the console to get for families, especially casual gamers. All kinds of people like that, and I worry that it's going to be really hard to make the transition. It looks nice, and it'll be more powerful. But we've already seen that people don't care about that. That power is not the selling point that it used to be.
What was the price point again?
US was $450.
So this is the most expensive by dollar Nintendo console ever.
Yeah, and inflation is a thing. But even when you take inflation into account, I believe it's pretty close to the top. And it used to be in the 80s and 90s that we were just really accustomed to spending more.
Manu, any thoughts about what we're seeing on screen?
So many thoughts.
Do you want to share?
Okay. The good thing, I think the technology is there. I think the 1080p, so they went far enough probably in terms of improvement, the FPS, the refreshing rate. Mm-hmm. This is at least good. It's better than a Steam Deck. It's better than most of the portable PC that we have on the market right now. But at the same time, they also mentioned that they are not going for any kind of performance race against other platforms. Yeah. So it's difficult to showcase how much technologically it's improved versus the Switch while still be far away from the other console, the other traditional console. I think the device look nice. It's a nice improvement, but it's just an improvement. What is interesting is the mouse system. I think they had a good idea. So you hold your Joy-Con on a surface, and then you move it like a mouse. You see, So that's cool. I think that's really adding because it opens. Yeah, you can just play with a mouse, or a shooter with a mouse, or you can play.
Or like Civilization, which is pretty big on the Switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is really cool, and it's actually for me better than a Steam Deck when it comes to shooting and to aiming.
Well, I do want to challenge that though, because who the hell's gonna use the Joy-Cons like that? Like, because
Whoever is a mouse and keyboard player.
can we
Yeah,
agree?
but like whoever's a mouse and keyboard player by definition
How
has a
many
mouse and
people-
keyboard somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. And I know, but I think it's not bad.
Yeah.
I think
not bad is kind of what it is that if we're, Nintendo loves hardware tricks.
Yeah.
And I do think it like shows the limits of where we are with like modern game design, that like that's where we can get as a hardware trick, is like a mouse where you didn't expect it.
It does feel like they're trying to cater to the streaming community, not just on this. I mean,
the C button, that's interesting. That is really interesting to me, especially again, as I mentioned earlier, from the family's perspective, is that if they can get a walled garden and a safe place for kids to be playing and interacting with their friends and only their friends, that's a major upsell. That's big.
But it just feels like it's too little, too late to this game. I mean, if you remember when the PS4 launched, when the Xbox, which one was that? The Xbox, not the 360, the one after, the one, cameras were all the rage.
Yeah.
And now nobody gives a shit about that anymore. And for those who are real serious streamers, they just hook up their PlayStations to their PCs to display and show themselves at the same time. But I feel like, okay, so this is a handheld console, right?
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't have a camera on the screen.
Yeah, that's
what I mean?
Great. That's not
this
great.
thing from 2000, was it the PSP or the Vita? The PSP had a camera, maybe. I forgot which one it was.
The P didn't. The Vita did. I remember because Tearaway used it.
Yeah, but it just feels a bit off.
Yeah.
That's a gimmick. That's a gimmick. No, but nobody cares about seeing your friend while you are playing. Okay, you're just interested into voice because you need to communicate. But I think it's a gimmick. This camera thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm super interested by making. I mean, obviously they made Mario Kart World exclusive for the reasons that you always make a game exclusive, which is try and move people to new hardware. But I just feel like that's an old paradigm. Yeah. Which is like the amount of money left on the table by not making a new Mario Kart available to the Switch audience. I mean, if you release Mario, if let's say technology aside that you can do stuff that you want with Mario Kart World, which I think is probably possible. I mean, obviously a different game, but a similar game. If you release that to the current Switch community, then that would be worth like 2 years of sales of the Switch 2. Like, just there's so many people would buy it.
I think this whole presentation screams that Nintendo is a hardware company. They really want to sell hardware. I think with the exclusive also that have been announced, I think it's really clear that they are making money from the hardware. And it's not just like maybe Microsoft that's moving away from that and just has moved away from that and wants it's making money out of software and out of the games.
But is it because they're making so much money out of hardware, or is that because like this is what the company is built to do and you can't really turn that ship around?
Yeah, there's legacy there for sure. They're going to be the last one to give up on physical goods. So you can see. Also, they still will have the cartridge and everything, while the others have moved. Basically, many of them have moved away from that or are moving away from that. Nintendo still has the highest physical share when it comes to software compared to other. Casey, you've disappeared.
No, I'm still here.
Okay. I just don't see you. But
it's all good. I see everything, and everything is working perfectly right now.
So then when we continue, there are some exclusive games. You're probably going to show them at some point.
Absolutely.
This feels so backwards.
Okay, I'll say one thing, Manu. I had a chat with a friend yesterday. This is the same friend who always follows the show and does and also maybe does the liking and all the subscribing and all this stuff. But what he told me was the most exciting feature? You'll never guess. He was like, oh, finally I can chat with my friends and see them on video. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like that was the most.
I mean, I do think that ultimately we're going to see that feel like one of the biggest changes is like, I mean, like using Discord on PlayStation is wicked hard. Like it's just no one's great at this except for PC. And if there is a console place that can make that easier and make that feel like an organic part of the experience, that's huge. And also, I think that the Switch is the right place to do it, right? Because it's got a touchscreen. So like, you know, no one's ever going to be like actually chatting if they have to like move the cursor around and select letters. But Switch is a touchscreen, so you can do that.
Fair enough, but I just feel like, I mean, who is this for?
It's for that guy in the Western cut shirt pointing at the screen and talking to his friend.
Also, why do I want to see my friends play different games, which I do sometimes actually, on the PlayStation but it's like I do that when there's like a specific game that has come out or something like that, and we're doing our own things, but we would just want to hang out. But what I'm trying to get to is like, so I can see them on screen playing their own game. I can see their faces, but I just have a hard time seeing people actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the voice is more important, and a good seamless voice thing is still really good, and the Switch doesn't do that great. So like, if it's more organic and more seamless with this that is a difference.
Do we have a price point for that camera, by the way?
€50 or something.
Okay, I'm surprised. I
thought so not nothing, but not a huge amount either.
Okay,
basically under a set of Joy-Cons.
But it basically breaks the idea of a portable console, right?
Yeah. That's the other price is that it's there.
Camera. Yeah. Like something you put in your pocket.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, especially with that USB. There's a USB on top. Like they just need. Why did they? Like the Game Boy used to have that. Remember? The Game Boy had a camera that went in on top. Why not
build it in? If you're holding your Switch like this and it's built in, then it could have had that functionality out of the go. And when I dock it,
it on the top,
Exactly. Yeah. And if I dock it, the screen is still like a centimeter or two above the dock, so that camera will still work.
But then you need to orient your dock in a very particular way, which is not what I think.
Sure, but it would work.
So what it feels like for me, it's Nintendo feels very much like Apple somehow. Like they are really on their island and they are developing their stuff and they come with ideas. Sometimes they are innovative. Sometimes it's just innovative for Nintendo. It's been around for a long time, but they just come with it, and some people might be impressed if they've never played on any platform other than a Nintendo platform. And it's all about, for me, they are opening their ecosystem to third-party developers, but at the same time, they are making sure the experience for the gamer is gated within their ecosystem. They don't want players to get out of their ecosystem. They want to retain them by using, I would say, old school mechanics. And I'm not sure this is where the industry is going. I'm not sure the Gen Z and the alphas are excited by having more barriers or more friction to their gaming experience. And talking about friction and entry barrier, the price of the games that have been announced is, I mean, we are talking about $80 for digital version and a $90 for a cartridge version, so physical copy. I think it makes sense finally that digital is cheaper than physical, because it's you can resell a physical cartridge. So I think there is this element. Also, it's more expensive. A cartridge is more expensive. It's more expensive than a Blu-ray.
Yep.
So it really makes sense. I don't know how much retailers would be happy about that, because usually you would have the same price between package and digital, but the retailers, they would eat their margin and they will offer a cheaper price, at least at launch, versus digital, which cannot happen on digital. €70 on digital and then package you can sometimes find at 55.
Yep.
Because retailers are just cutting their margin. But here they have to cut just to be on par with digital for starters. So I'm really curious to see how a retailer will react to that. I don't know. Again, in today's world, how many games at 90 or 80 euro will you buy? Will you buy a Switch version of Cyberpunk, of a game that has been released a few years ago for $80, or I don't know, something feels...
I'll tell you, Manu, I'll tell you who will buy that. So 10 years ago, I was 10 years old, and my father or mother bought me a Switch. And now I'm 20 years old, and I'm not playing games on any other platform. So finally, I got my Switch 2 now, and now I can finally, and I'm old enough to play Cyberpunk and Elden Ring. That's who I am.
I'm not sure there are many of you.
Fair enough. So I'll add one more thing, Manu, which is this. So, I sold my Switch, right? In anticipation to buy the Switch 2. And when I sold my Switch, the person who came to my house and bought the Switch looked at all these and was like, hey, why don't you sell me this thing and this thing and this thing? And I was like, no, I'm not going to sell you these because I will keep them to play on my Switch too.
Yeah.
So I think, to your point, this is in my opinion, but I don't know, you know better, I assume. Let me know. These are the games that are going to matter and that we care about on the Switch or on the Nintendo platform. I'm sure, of course, we all know the indies thrive on the Switch as well. But I would love to hear your thoughts about it. And for those who are listening in, I'm referencing first-party titles, the Mario Odysseys, the Animal Crossings, the parties, etc.
Yeah, as opposed to the Cyberpunks of the world.
As a third-party publisher, it needs to be very cheap to launch my game on Switch, because you cannot expect to sell millions of units on Switch as a third-party publisher. I don't think it's the case. And also they've announced so many not retro compatibility, but like you can play all GameCube games on the Switch too. So it's like instantly you have access to such a library, like generations of Nintendo console available on the Switch too, which means that it might be easier to sell the hardware than to sell the software on the Switch too.
And then I think you just, as Casey was implying earlier, we just run into the problem that like so many platforms have run into, from like Netflix to Game Pass to whatever, which is that if you are a person that is interested in playing Cyberpunk, which is generally it's a very specific thing, you already have a way of playing Cyberpunk. And having a different a different way is like fine, but not game changing. And for that kind of person, the Steam Deck is probably going to be a better option. There's a different kind of person who is not necessarily interested in playing Cyberpunk that I think makes up a really big part of the Switch of the Switch audience, but that's just a different argument.
But at least Nintendo did a good job to try to convince third-party publishers to be more present on the Switch. Yeah. It's miles better than the Switch One, which basically nobody released any game. I think Ubisoft released
yeah. But that's a great example. The Switch One killed without it. You know?
Yeah. So again, yes, people will upgrade at some point. I don't know, beside the hardcore fans, how many people will just put $450 on the table for what has been shown yesterday.
I mean, I think a huge thing is, when do we get a Switch 2 Lite? Because that is that's a really, really important part of their ecosystem, selling to families.
And the OLED version, it's not OLED.
Also, which is a downgrade in some ways. If I'm playing like Hollow Knight, if I'm playing Silk Song, Yeah, if I'm playing Silksong on one of these two machines, I might opt for my Switch because the OLED is going to be nicer.
Mm. So there have been a lot of compromises, I believe, between the price, between the hardware, because my understanding is that they didn't go OLED so that they could go 120 FPS. So, but yeah,
That just doesn't sound very Nintendo, does it? Like when do you hear Nintendo talking about FPS?
yeah,
Like I would so much rather for my Nintendo games have bright, beautiful colors at 60 FPS, which is a pretty good FPS, than have this kind of 120 number, which it doesn't impact me that much. For me, the difference between 60 and 120 is the difference between 1080 and 4K in most situations. That sure, you can notice it, sure, fine, but
indeed. So, and even on top of that, there is this uncertainty about the tariffs on hardware. Okay, because yesterday we had a nice press conference. The number I think I saw from Japan was like 20 or 25%.
I'm surprised.
Tariff.
Yeah, but and China's a pretty relevant number here too. These things aren't being assembled in Japan, I assume.
Yeah, I don't know where they're coming from, but across the board. And I know there's going to be some exemption and things like that. But I think for the US market, there are huge uncertainties about what will come on top of that.
And it's not just the it's not just the first order effect of the console being more expensive. It's also the second and third order effects of people having less discretionary income.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the biggest one for me. Yeah.
So many alternatives also. So I know. Just to be clear, I know many analysts are super bullish about it's going to be the biggest ever console launch and everything.
But launch. No, yeah. I mean, I'm not worried about year one. I think year one's going to be just fine.
Yeah. But it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. I've been very cautious so far about even first throwing numbers because nobody knows ultimately, and beating whoever did something in the past. I don't know. Casey, will you buy day one? Do you feel the need to buy day one?
I don't feel the need. I'm just doing it because I'm an industry professional. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
And have you signed up for the email?
The email?
Yeah, you gotta do that. So I'll drop a link in the chat if I can find it in a sec.
I thought we're talking about the guysweekly.substack.com.
I'm assuming you've signed up for the guysweekly.substack.com.
You might not get one because you need to have played some time on Switch software to get the chance.
You need to have 12 months of paid Switch Online membership, at least 12 months in the past and currently active. You need to have 50 hours of playing on the Switch, and you need to have signed up to opt in to share data with them.
I've never paid for Switch Online, and I will probably never ever pay.
So you are not getting this on day one then.
You cannot scalp it. Sorry about that.
What the hell? But I already subscribed to a couple Swedish retailers who would quote unquote guarantee me a Switch too.
Sure. I think it's going to be a fake shortage anyway.
But my guess is like a month in, it'll be pretty easy to buy these things.
Marketing stunt. Maybe not in the US because I believe in the US they probably try to ship the console before the start of the tariffs. So there might be a limited stock in the US at launch price.
Well, when do they start?
April 8th. Oh, the tariffs?
I thought they were immediate.
When I think they are immediate.
Yeah.
This week. Oh, but tomorrow it can change. Tomorrow they could have
exactly
negotiation with Japan, and then everything is fine. So
I was just about to ask Manu about the price point here and how final that is. Like, do we expect a 24% increase on this price point?
And that also that depends on how retailers choose to incorporate tariffs in their pricing. They might eat some of it, and also if I was a retailer, I might treat it the same way the U.S. frequently treats sales tax, which is still list the price at $450 and then put it on top.
Yeah,
got it. I want to talk about some games, shall we? If that is okay with you guys.
Mm-hmm. I close the door of my office for a second.
Okay, yeah, go for it. So this one, which is super confusing because they are charging for it, Is that correct? So Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is basically a watered down version of Astrobot, which was included for free in the first iteration, not the release of Astrobot the game, but the demo. What's our thoughts about this thing?
The idea that this is paid is insane to me.
I thought the first
but nobody will buy that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It will probably be part of a bundle to make the customer feel that he's get something for free, but nobody's going to buy that.
Like what we're seeing here is like a tutorial. It's like it's a hardware tutorial, and we're expected to pay for it.
Dave, I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was like a Wii Mii's thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. A Miiverse situation, or Mii Plaza, whatever. Yeah.
But I feel like this is ridiculous. Like, what's the value here? Or where's the fun, rather?
Yeah.
A bit unlike Nintendo in many ways.
I mean, again, I think this would be totally fine if it was a bundle. Like, this would be a great way to, like, you receive your Nintendo Switch 2, and it's like, oh, check out the features. So that would be totally fine for me. Just not as a paid piece of software.
Hey,
yeah, it's again, there are something you're difficult to reconcile, to understand, just to understand. So I prefer not to make assumption if I don't understand something.
Yeah, maybe there's something that we're missing.
We're missing
here.
But don't you think they would show more depth if there was that much value? As a paid digital only game, by the way.
I mean, and also, like, is it like a? And they're really clear. Like, they know that people are going to assume this is free because it looks like a free thing that bundles in, which is why they have to say a paid digital only game. Like, is it going to be $1? I don't know, but still, anything is weird.
Yeah, maybe because they don't have a lot of software on day one of new games, new stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So let me take you then to the first game they showed. That is obviously exclusive, and also a bit like, at least for me, it's a weird choice of a game to make. But let me know what you think. So this is Drag X Drive, and you're using the Joy-Cons like mice or mouses or mouse as a mouse, and it's like a Rocket League, but you're like a
on a wheelchair.
Yeah,
on one of those kind of performance wheelchairs. I mean, this is ARMS basically, you know. I mean, obviously
that was a robot fighting game, right?
Yeah, but like, you know, it's a similar thing. Like, Nintendo's always going to make a hardware demo, and it's always going to do okay, you know.
Who's going to buy this game? Like, I can download Rocket League day one on Nintendo Switch 2, I assume.
Price point's a big deal here. I mean, I think for $15-20 as a hardware demo, people might buy it, screw around with it. If this is a full fat game, no way.
And this is probably just a multiplayer game. Like, there's no single player or like a story or anything.
Also,
like
where's the crowd? Shouldn't there be a crowd?
It's Rocket League, but not Rocket League.
Yeah.
And I think Rocket League has basketball these days as well. Any other thoughts about this thing? Like, they gave it a lot of space during the presentation. That's why I'm confused here.
Yeah, this is for me. That's the legacy thing. A lot of this just feels like legacy, which is why I say this is basically ARMS, just with it demoing different hardware. This is what Nintendo does. They are going to release a new piece of hardware with some kind of trick to it, and they're going to give a lot of time to this kind of thing.
I'll move over to the more exciting stuff then. Let's start with the biggest, maybe most exciting thing, which is Mario Kart World. What are you thinking, guys?
It looks great. It looks awesome. I'm really interested by the level of customization we seem to be seeing in the drivers, because I just really like playing Mario Kart, and a little more meta progression. Like, even like the very basic unlock system in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I found to be pretty engaging. Mostly just because like it's like a little bit of structure on top of playing Mario Kart. And so more meta progression, give me more reasons to just like chill out, play Mario Kart. That's good. Looks really nice. And the whole Forza Kart World thing, that's I'm seeing a lot that I'm excited about here, which I was surprised by because I was not really, I was having a hard time understanding what was going to get me excited about a new Mario Kart. And it's this.
Manu, any additional thoughts here?
What is it the crew, the crew 2 where you can drive different type of vehicles? And I don't know, because I saw some jet ski stuff or on water. I don't know if it's still cars on water, if it's a different physics.
I mean, that's Mario Kart 8 has that too. It has, sometimes you don't even really notice it. Sometimes your car becomes a hovercraft. Yeah.
I mean, if you like it, I think it's a great improvement. This is not my type of entertainment, but so for the core audience, I'm sure it will be fun also for the kids, and playing multiplayer on the same. I don't know. I guess you can play also on the same screen. Did they say that? Like four player on the same screen?
If Mario Kart released without split screen multiplayer, then
okay.
Then I'm gonna shoot some pigs out of the sky.
I don't know if they are showcasing that here in the trailer, but no, and there is this element of open world, so a bit like Forza Horizon, I guess, if I understood correctly. So you can just roam around. It's also a discovery type of game. So yeah, it looks much better than Mario Kart 8. Yes.
Yeah, and these levels, they do look great. Like from a basic way, do the levels look cool? Levels look really cool.
Yeah.
So I'll add a couple notes here. I think from a gameplay perspective, that's what impressed me in terms of they found other ways for you to have fun while driving. As an example, sliding on the like doing the grinding, like the skateboard grinding on the rails type situation.
In the wall jumps.
Driving on the walls.
Yeah.
Then to your point, Dave, you were talking about your car in 8 transforming into a hover type thing. Here, they've found a bigger variety of transformations. We saw the water ski, the ski jet, the snow jet, that type of stuff. There's more flying. It seems like you're even flying much higher.
Because there's not really flying in 8. There's gliding.
Gliding. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it looks like maybe more power-ups, more things to do in the world. That could be interesting. So the older Mario Kart games, you're just racing in a circle mostly, or sometimes you have these tracks where it's a one-way race. But here it feels like, okay, now I can, to what Dave was mentioning before, I can now discover things in the world. Maybe I can collect things. Maybe I can do some social stuff.
There's the knockout race that this sort of semi battle royale thing where you just keep going. I think that's cool. I'm into that.
My only concern. Oh, here you go. You have these cups as well where you're like chaining levels. Maybe hopefully there's no loading screen now. Like I'm just going from one race to the next one, which would be.
You have to teleport, I guess, somehow.
It looks like you're.
But you do drive from track to track in the Grand Prix mode, I believe.
Yeah, that's
very
really
annoying.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they had. They will need like just 100% classic Grand Prix. This is what you expect.
Yeah.
To your point as well, Dave, like the amount of customization. In 8, there was no progression system in the form of I can see what the rewards are, right? It just randomly you get a reward.
Yeah,
that's my feeling. And here it feels like maybe there's even more content than ever.
Yeah, and it looked like some of the customization happened in match. Like he gets a cheeseburger and then he looks like a different guy.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe everything was unlocked. So there was limited progression because everything was unlocked. Here, you probably start completely from scratch because it's a completely different game. So I think the engagement will be higher. There will be way more stuff to unlock.
Yeah,
absolutely. You did unlock a lot of things as you played 8. But I think for me here, the danger, and hopefully you can tell us what you think is going to happen here. Do you think they're going to do any type of microtransaction type stuff? So with the old one, with 8, you had 8, obviously, which is an older game, packed with new content. And then on top of that, they released, and Dave, you have to probably help me out here. Was it 1 or 2 DLCs that you could buy, and those included like several tracks and
Well, they're tied to Switch Online.
Got
So you have a Switch Online membership, then you get by the end of it, it was four new cups. So each cup has 4 races.
Got it. But there was no like there was no in-game store with microtransactions, stuff like
No.
that. Is that something that we fear might happen here?
Not for cosmetics, but I could see it for tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way, if you look at the like map that they gave you, it would be pretty easy to attack, especially on the southern part of that map, to just attack new areas on. And I'd be fine with that. I remember with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I was playing the thing all the time. I was like, just let me buy some new tracks. Just make some new tracks. I'll buy them. I don't care how much they cost.
I just don't know how you do if you have friends, if every player buy it or not. I think it's always a question. It was the same back then in Battlefield, where they would release map packs as part of a live service, like paid maps. So you can only play the basic maps if your friend doesn't have the expansion pack or the season pass. So there's always a risk of segmenting your audience when you come with paid playable content like that.
Well, speaking of sharing content, by the way, that was a feature that we forgot to talk about. So the Nintendo Switch 2 allows you to share your game with 3 other people. Do we know how that works or what that means actually? Did you see that, or you missed it?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how
I
it
think
works,
it was
because even now
either-
like having 2 Switches that both belong to you is even now kind of difficult.
But I think it was one of those things where, like, let's say you're my friend, you come to my house, you have your Switch with you. We only need 1 copy, and because we're on the same Wi-Fi or something like that, or there is a way for them to track that we actually are in the vicinity of each other or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're playing both of us separately on different screens with, like, with our own progression, all that stuff, the same game. That's my understanding of the presentation, but I could be wrong. Which I think is a cool feature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how third party will react to that though, but I mean, Split Fiction won't have a problem with that at all. They would embrace. I mean, they are the ones who
Exactly.
invented that, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think this will be a thing accepted by third parties, or maybe it's an option that you can opt into?
I don't know. I don't have an opinion at this point. Again, there are a lot of stuff that has been thrown in the presentation. Some of them will stay gimmick, and some of them will really potentially be game changers. But it's a bit too early to call, I would say, on that one specifically. I'm just trying to figure out who is actually playing like that.
Yeah.
Who, in which circumstance do you have like 2 people in the same room with a Switch, or in which circumstance do you want to see the face of the person you're playing with? All of that, it's very... nothing feels really mass market. Everything feels like niche, niche.
I will say that, and I hate the perspective of like, oh, they're Nintendo, they're going to pull it out, everything's going to be great. But it is, I remember when we saw the first reveal of the Switch and they're playing their Switch on the rooftop party, and everyone's like, who's going to do that? And then like I found myself doing that like 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So here it is then. Then I guess it's confirmed. Like local play with other system and game share. So if we're on the same network, then you can just play the game that I own at the same time with me.
That's cool. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm understanding.
Are they playing Uno here?
And also it's cross switches. It's not just across the Switch too.
What?
Come again?
If you are 4 people in the same room, why would you play Uno on the Switch?
Well, I mean, they're demonstrating games, Manu. Different games.
Choose something else.
Okay.
You get my point, okay?
I do agree that it's always concerning when the example that they choose doesn't really work.
Here it is. Show me something that makes sense, okay? Reversi. Okay, because you don't need to take the physical good with you. Yeah, I can
it's a
you need to take 4 Switches instead.
I mean, you can buy the cheaper hardware,
which is cards.
So so it's select games, and so it's not like something they're forcing on third party. And here's an interesting caveat: Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games can only be shared with Nintendo Switch 2 systems. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, if they're built for the Switch too, you can't share them with a console that's not capable of playing them.
Well, they had to write that out, Dave.
Mhm.
You have to have clarity. Okay, let's move over to the next exciting title, which is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, this one specifically I completely missed to watch, so I will watch it with you. What's your take on this game?
Looks fun.
Yeah,
I think it's a weird choice that they went not with Mario, and they did kind of a similar type of Mario game, but with Donkey Kong.
I mean, I think they're waiting for Mario for next holiday season, basically. They
Probably to have the install base, to and make it potentially exclusive to Switch 2. Also.
Yeah. Because that's their next major opportunity to sell a lot of units. Well, they have two more opportunities. It's the next Mario, the next Zelda. Yeah. I'll be very curious to see how they decide to dole them out.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think they will do a GTA 6?
No.
Why not?
I don't think it could run it.
No.
I mean, you have Cyberpunk and Elden Ring, so...
I mean, Elden Ring ain't GTA 6.
Cyberpunk was launched on the Gen 4, okay? On the PlayStation 4. And we saw the result. So...
Yeah.
No.
And Elden Ring, I don't think, is a massive lift of a game.
No, not at all. The engine is... I mean, it's open world this time, but the engine as such is kind of older.
Yeah.
I would be very disappointed if GTA 6 is not such a technical step that it can run on a Switch 2.
Fair enough. I like the throwing stuff around here looks really cool. I think this is a cool looking game. I mean, and it's Nintendo, so being a 10 out of 10 is always a possibility. It's more like, an 8.5 would be cool. I'll play it. A 10, if it winds up being a Breath of the Wild scale, an Odyssey scale, then that could begin to make a difference as far as the adoption.
And the digging in the destruction is nice. I still don't get why. I mean, we have talked about the game about digging a hole, which is super fun. Mm-hmm. I still don't understand why a game there was nothing after Red Faction. If you go look at Red Faction, it had destructible environment. You could drill, you could explode basically everything. And there's not been that much of that.
Well, there's been Minecraft, right? I think that's kind of where that impulse went.
And game like Teardown is also very successful because you can destroy them. But I don't get why there has not been more like AA or AAA type of game.
My guess is that the technology that they everyone pushed photorealistic graphics or approaching photorealistic graphics so hard that the sort of technical lift required to make a system like that work just increased exponentially.
Yeah, or you would need a dedicated engine and not the Unreal Engine. That's also possible.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we've seen it in lo-fi games like Minecraft and Valheim and stuff like that. But my guess is making it work with what was expected out of the AA and AAA space was unworkable.
Are we, by the way, not disappointed that I can't buy all these games day one? It's like they're trying to drip feed me throughout the year.
Yeah, I don't know. There's 6 of one, half dozen the other, right? Because if you could buy them all day one, then 3 months later would come by and everyone would be saying the Nintendo exclusive drought
has no games.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are so many other games, right? In terms of downloadable indie games and games that will move over from the Switch 1 to the 2. Okay. So here's the thing. Guys, I'll ask you this question. You have $1 billion and you can get the golden goose of the video game industry to make you a game. 1, which studio is that? Okay. And 2, what game is it? From
Software, Dustbloods.
Okay. Perfect. Good answer, Dave. That's $1 billion well spent, by the way.
Yeah.
I will play that and let's talk about this. Well, tell me. Dustbloods.
A lot of people I know were disappointed that it's not like a mainline thing, that it's PvPvE. For me personally, like that, I said the same thing about Chalice Dungeons and Bloodborne. I was like, why would I want to play this when I could just be playing regular From Software? And then
I love you, but I'll say you're wrong about the Chalice dungeons. Please.
No, that's why I was mid-sentence explaining how then later I got super into the Chalice dungeons.
Hell yeah.
So I thought those were super cool, and I would love to see sort of an evolution of the Chalice dungeon concept with more people, with like a stronger multiplayer focus. I don't know. I don't want to say that From Software is only allowed to make one kind of game, and so I'm excited to see what happens with this.
Can you both explain to me? So, looking at the trailer, I didn't read about the game in detail, apart from knowing that it's a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive for now. We'll see what happens later.
There
But
is no release date, okay? There's a lot of that is
2026.
announced, okay?
2026, right? Yeah,
You will
I think
see
it's
about that.
2026. We'll
Yeah.
see it soon. But I guess what I want to get to, okay, so this is not a traditional From Software game, or is it? Because when I hear PvPvE, for me
Yeah, I
that
guess.
means,
Yeah,
sorry, Dave, it means
Yeah.
basically it's Elden Ring again, but
What?
maybe there's a more seamless.
Well, yeah, and I think that's
multiplayer.
interesting is that you could theoretically describe the traditional evasion mechanics as PvPvE. It's just that you wouldn't necessarily, because that's not the center of the experience. Here it sounds like it's the center of the experience.
Got it. But is that the pitch when they put out the PR release, or what?
Yeah, that's like what is this game? It is a PvPvE game. You know.
Okay, but if I'm looking at the trailer, nothing tells me that. It tells me like unlike Elden Ring, Nightingale. Unlike that game, that was very apparent from the trailer. Like, hey, you are supposed to be with other people. But here, I don't feel like anything is telling me that.
I'm getting hero shooter vibes from this sort of this wheel of different looking characters.
Manu,
It looks amazing visually. I'm very sad if it's not a single player experience. And I'm very sad because I'm not going to buy a Switch 2 even for that.
Yeah. Yeah, my question will be like, how viable is the single player experience?
Yeah, so it's basically I don't want to see that game because I will not have access to it. It for me, I prefer that it doesn't exist in my reality.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest reason to play From Software games is visual design, enemy design.
Yeah,
and this has got it.
yeah, it looks really great. That's the problem.
It does look unique. I wonder if it's going to play unique as well. Like, if you remember, Bloodborne was very, very different from the traditional Dark Souls type game. It was a lot more aggressive for the player, and there was no shield using, and you had the guns, of course.
Yeah, but it was still the same mechanics. You unlock regions, and then you have your campsite, and you know it's
Absolutely, sure.
the combat was different in the same way that I think Sekiro was much further away from other From Software game than Bloodborne from Dark Souls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can basically play Dark Souls like it's Bloodborne if you get yourself 2 daggers and make a fast character, you know.
Yeah.
So, what we just saw on screen, 2026, Switch 2 only. Obviously, I'm already getting my Switch 2, and Manu, I can borrow it out to you so you can play Duskblood. Okay,
Don't try it and say no, it's not for me.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't even try it I can't even know if I like it. That's a problem.
I think I would love to know how much money did Nintendo spend to secure this.
Yeah.
Any thoughts there?
I think it's also very weird because there is this whole investment from Sony into the company owning From Software.
Yeah.
It feels very counter. Probably this deal has been signed before they increase their stake in the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this game,
and that's clearly why this is not Bloodborne multiplayer. You know, it's legally distinct Bloodborne game. Yeah.
At this point, I would prefer that Sony buys From Software than letting From Software do Nintendo exclusive, because I know that they would potentially release the PlayStation exclusive on PC.
So,
at least.
Normally, I would agree with this, but I have a feeling that this is a good thing. That, From Software is doing something specific on a specific platform, and just like because Bloodborne for me is still the best Soul type game ever made. Maybe I need to go back and replay it to just compare to Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is really, really high up there. But But I feel like I have a good feeling that this is going to be one of those, like, I need to buy this console to play it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm already doing that. Good stuff. Gentlemen, do I need to go back to Trump and the tariffs at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. No one knows. It's bad. Whatever.
Okay.
I mean, as I mentioned before, the only thing I'll say is that the major question about adoption of something like the Switch 2 or, sort of the broader fate of humanity is whether or not anyone has any discretionary income.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, it's censorship when you start talking about tariffs.
Yes. Okay. We'll not do that then. Manu, out of the news, what items do you want me to cover today? We have, the number one item that you have on the news, obviously, apart from the highlights that we already talked about Nintendo, you have Roblox announces new ad format.
So your quick story, because we already talked a lot today. You will be able to players can earn stuff by just watching videos, advertisements. So it's mobile. It's really like a lot of mobile games where you get progression. If you watch videos, you get shortcuts, progression shortcuts, and stuff like that. So
this is Roblox. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I go to YouTube, I watch a video, and I get rewarded for something. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think it's in game. They don't want you to leave the game, obviously.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like another way of... Okay, this is interesting. So what impact does that have to do with... So if I download Roblox on Android or iOS, and iOS wants to own, or Apple wants to own all advertisement to go through them, this will be a bit counter to what they're doing, or counter to their business. Would that be correct to say, or am I missing something?
Say it again, just to make sure I understand what you mean.
So if I'm downloading a random game on iOS, the developer might opt into having ads, right? But those ads and that entire system goes through Apple. Would that be correct to say?
I'm still connected.
They're getting a cut.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
I have to look into that, but I believe that's how it works. So my question was going to be like, okay, if
not getting in the internet.
If a game now has ads that is going through a third party other than Apple, would that be okay for them? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Obviously, you already have a YouTube app that features ads separate and owned by Google. But I don't know.
With like cellular turned off?
Do you see any issues there right now, or maybe you need to...
Because I can't even send a Discord message on here.
I mean, Fortnite and Roblox are so big that they will always try to get out of the ecosystem of the phone operating system. No, I think it... For your advertisement for the kids, I think it's what he's saying. I don't think Roblox is going in the right direction, but it's the world we are living in.
We know Roblox is not profitable, right? It's break even or they're losing money. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know specifically.
Okay. But maybe what we're seeing is like this squeeze now. They're trying to squeeze.
Potentially.
If you did not know, because I did some research a while ago, but premium games on Roblox are becoming more available, and some of them are actually in the top played games.
Yeah.
Which does bring in the idea of are they forcing games to feature ads? If I have a free game, am I forced? No.
I think again, advertisement is a source of revenue for the developer. So the developer does whatever wants to do.
Okay, I have Dave here. He has some internet issues, but we'll continue. Okay, I'll move over to the next item then. The world's largest PC strategy game has a novel idea rather. What if it was okay for people to leave? What is this? What are we learning here?
I think it's the concept that live service game can accept that players might churn.
Okay.
But the question is, how do they get the player back? So it's not about preventing them to churn, it's having mechanics to bring the player back.
Yep.
And this is good thing when we talk about the PC and console report and we talk about recursive nostalgia. That's kind of the way to get the player back. by bringing back content from your own brand in the game. So I think the idea is more like, let's not be worried if players churn, because they always churn, but it's more about what strategy do we have to bring them back.
Fair enough. Yeah, you know what? I think two games come to mind. Both of them probably over 10 years old right now. You have Warframe that usually brings back people every 3 to 6 months. You play a bit and then you leave and you come back in 3 to 6 months. The other one is Minecraft, which I personally was at a presentation by the former head of Minecraft, who said, our goal is to bring a person back every 6 months, which was really cool to hear.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's changed because that was like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's which makes the life of new games even more difficult. Again, we always come back to that. The more successful the existing live service are at keeping their player or bringing them back, the less time these players have for any other experience.
Absolutely. Manu, I will talk. I'll read some of these, and you stop me where you think it's worth talking about. So we have Netflix Game Boss says consoles not the future. Okay, sure. How 6 million Call of Duty players send Helldivers 2 into a tailspin. That one I would love to hear. What is that talking about?
They are talking about how difficult it was for Helldivers 2 to basically keep their players that were there day one, because of they didn't have a robust live service plan.
Yeah.
And so that's always good to have some history and some feedback from players. I think it's a video, but there is a summary.
Yeah, I know Shems.
Yeah, I'm sure you must know a bit of what happened, but I think it's interesting that they get players they were not expecting, and the expectations from these players were way above what they have. And I think it also showed how much of a powerhouse Call of Duty is, and why so many players are still playing with that license.
Absolutely.
Because they are expecting that content. They are getting it.
Well, that was one of the. I mean, this is okay to talk to about. Like, you have no idea how much we were fighting ourselves about what is the business model.
Yeah.
And what are the features we have. And I just feel like now in hindsight, and this is like my philosophy about live service games moving forward. I mean, you have to stop looking at other games or rather, you have to stop looking at the top games and say, I want to do that. Because what they're doing is on such a different level in terms of operation. I mean, you have an army of analysts, an army of operations people just making sure things are so tight. And also researchers doing A/B testing. There are so many things they're doing on such a high level. It's impossible for a small studio of 100 people or less to be on that level. And some of these things, like, I regret that maybe for Helldivers or any other game on that type of level to operate, like having a battle pass, having these things that you're forced to continuously update and keep, instead of focusing on, okay, what are my strengths and what can I do? What can I do? Yeah. Okay, so then I'll move on to the trends. PlayStation XX says Nier Automata revived the Japanese game industry. Anything worth telling about that one specifically?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting, and I never had that angle, so I think it's also a good read, and it's like basically telling the Japanese developer, you have a local market big enough, don't try to chase at all costs the foreign players. But the reality is that actually they are now very successful with the Western audience. So again, this week the big news is Nintendo, but there are a lot of interesting reads that I advise for viewers and readers to have a look at. Yeah.
Okay. This one is interesting. I'm actually surprised to even read it. London is now the third largest global hub for game makers after LA and okay. So if we're talking by city, this might be true.
I don't know much why they're not talking about any Asian hub in there, like any Chinese city probably is a bigger hub, or maybe they are talking about decision makers and not that much about developers.
Maybe just,
or maybe they are just turning the reality so that they can promote the London Game Festival. That's yeah.
We'll see if that even continues.
Yeah, and how much Los Angeles and San Francisco will stay at the top. I think it resonates with the newsletter from Dave, the monthly newsletter where we're talking about that context. I thought it was super interesting perspective.
And if you remember a while ago, we were talking about a lot of companies. I mean, specifically, obviously, you have Tesla and the Elon Musk conglomerates moving away from San Francisco to Texas or other places.
Yeah.
But this is also affecting other companies that are doing the same almost. Okay. There's this other one, We Stand Ready. Night Dive says it wants to start remastering Xbox 360 and PS3 era games. Okay, so this is the next cycle of remasters are potentially coming.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are still a lot of dormant IPs. So we've not milked all the back catalog yet, and there are companies that are specialized in that. So I think if you own the IP, it's very interesting. If you don't have to do anything, you just get the royalties So why not? Why not? Which means, again, more of the same content.
Yeah.
In a refreshed version, but there's no innovation in there. The industry is not moving forward by constantly looking back.
I've been speaking for a while about packaging as well, putting together collections of games as a single package, selling it at a higher price. The next item is interesting from another perspective, which is Tencent requires 25% stake in Ubisoft. And this is Ubisoft's new gaming subsidiary.
Yeah.
Can you explain this? Because I feel like this is what is it called when you're trying to trick people into a thing? Tell us, what is this thing? What is happening?
They are splitting their portfolio. They are moving probably their most successful IPs into this new entity, and they are selling 25% of that new entity to Tencent. I don't know what will be the consequence. In the rumor, there is some also insider information. I prefer to put that in rumors because I don't know how much. It's not really that public. It's insider gaming.
Yeah.
There is a risk that some people will have a bad time because of that. Because I'm not sure about the new entity, if it will follow the same rules when it comes to HR and stuff like that. So let's see the implication also for the people working on these IPs. We are talking about Far Cry, we are talking about Rainbow Six Siege, I think, and talking about Assassin's Creed. So these are the biggest IPs for Ubisoft, and that's the only one that probably Tencent wanted to invest into.
Yeah,
and probably the new structure will be way leaner also. And it wasn't perceived very well by the market. There are also opinions that it's a way to basically get. I don't know how to say that in a proper English. That's
I'll say it. It's pulling the rug from under the current investors in Ubisoft.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly. Pulling the rug is a nice way to say it. Yes, and potentially also to the workforce, because there's another thing. I believe a lot of Ubisoft employee, mostly like in same big publisher, they've been paid with stocks, as bonus.
Yeah.
So maybe there's also an angle there that ultimately some of the employees will lose a lot of money because the share will keep crashing.
Which, yes, I agree on that. And what is confusing here, so the current market cap of Ubisoft is 1.4 billion. So it's a bit how are they able to pull this off without the investors going crazy?
Yeah, again, I don't know all the details, but it almost feels like everything else outside of this franchise has a negative equity.
Well, because this is what's confusing me. So the new entity or the new subsidiary is going at a value of approximately 4 billion. But all of Ubisoft, it's 1.3 in today's exchange.
Yeah. I don't know. It's we'll see how it unfolds. But we call that as what could happen with Ubisoft. I think one of my prediction for 2025 was probably sliced, Ubisoft being sliced into pieces. And I think once they've done that, they will look at the remaining IPs and probably start to sell some of them. Ultimately, they might only keep this new entity. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, I'm just, and I think you mentioned this earlier, I'm just scared for the workforce.
That would be a bloodbath, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're talking about 20,000 people? Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. I mean, a big chunk of that is working on these 3 IPs.
Yeah.
But still, there are so many other IPs in the Ubisoft portfolio.
Got it. I'll skip the rumors today then, and we'll jump to the last item here on the numbers. So Monster Hunter Wilds tops 10 million units sold. Sets company first month sales record by combining the series appeal with new elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not surprising, but is there anything to learn from this?
No, it's a good game, a good IP can still succeed in the current market terms. That's just the thing. And speaking of numbers, you remember Schedule 1, the Breaking Bad simulator?
Yeah.
Reach a peak of 414,000, which when you go from all-time peak, it's number 29.
Crazy.
Yes. And still doing well. I think next weekend it might be even bigger because now we are doing the week and the peak was still around 300. It was number 4 in the last 24 hours. Number 4, okay? It was above Monster Hunter.
I have to ask, like from a quality perspective, from a gameplay perspective, have you played it, by the way?
Yeah.
Is it interesting? Is it a good game?
Yeah. It's a good build your empire simulator.
Amazing.
And also, of course, it's about weed and about drugs. So there is this element of illegal that might be appealing to also a younger audience. Maybe I don't know. But the game itself is there are good ideas and it's holding, okay? But it's still there. And the other one is Repo, which is still there. I have my kid asking me more and more if he can play that one. So it's also doing quite well. And Rival is still around. Apex is the anniversary season. Delta Force. Where is it what is it doing? I think Delta Force is starting to go a little bit down, but not that much if you expand to maximum.
It's stable-ish.
Yeah.
From December until today, it's very sitting at the.
Fiction is probably now dropping. Yeah, but it makes sense. They've not talked about. I think last time they communicated was 3 million units. So I don't know if they will talk when they are at 5 or 10.
Good stuff. Dave, we have to go to other meetings and go back to work, more or less. But sorry, I said Dave, Manu. But it's been an interesting episode, and I think we learned a lot today about Nintendo, and then of course Ubisoft and everything else.
Yeah.
Anything
Maybe
else?
we might want to slice it to have a Nintendo special and then the rest of the news because it's going to be 1 hour and a half otherwise.
Yep. I think we're going to do that, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as a reminder, next week, April 8th, 9 a.m., wherever you are in the world, you will be able to see the exclusive report from Manu and his team. And then we will also break down in a video and talk about the report.
Yeah.
Cool. Then, with that being said, thank you so much, Manu, for joining us. Dave, you're not here right now, but thank you so much for joining us as well.
Yes.
Please, again, reminder: do the clicks, the likes, the bells, all the things that you need to do to help us out. That would be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.